Thanks for checking out this week's FinPrep Trading and Investment video newsletter. So for SPY, we did lose the 210 area. No change announced to the discount rate on, I believe it was Wednesday, but yet still further downside continuing. And generally, the theme this week has just been, as well as the prior few weeks, but is this removal of risk in advance of basically the domestic political cycle. So it will be interesting to see. We should have some increased volatility next week, and then hopefully we can move forward, pick a direction, etc. And see what happens going forward. But yeah, as far as the run up to it, we do see the removal of risk. So SPY basically holding above the 200-day moving average. Losing that obviously opens the door to 207, where you have your 250 as well as your 50-week moving average in and around that zone in particular. So we'll see what happens. Continued downside on Russell small caps. So basically high of day Tuesday around this 9 exponential moving average, and then moving in a bit of a relief on Friday, but still unable to close above prior day's high, so not terribly impressive. Junk bond significantly did lose this price channel, so this upward sloping price channel, stretching back to March of 2016 this year, so considerable duration. We had some downside last week and then a breakdown out of the pattern here, so pretty significant development for junk bonds. We'll want to monitor that going forward to kind of assess what is the risk sentiment with regard to equities in general. This, though, creates the opportunity for ACWI, so All Country World Index, so to speak, about a 50% weighting with U.S. stocks. So off the secondary peak, we have a trend line, secondary peak back in 2014, so essentially capping a rally here, coinciding, interestingly, with the point at which we had that flash crash sell-off, culminating anyways in 2015, August, and then capping the rally here, etc., and with the breakout here. A very quick retest the following day, and then we had a breakout. So multiple months above this trend line, here we are now testing it as potential support, as well as the rising 200-day moving average oversold on the fast stochastics. So ACWI could be an interesting opportunity, but again, it's going to most likely follow where the SPY leads. In terms of currencies, the dollar index, basically we're back to mid-range. So if we have this overall price pattern of drifting sideways following the blow-off top in March of 2015, capping basically in a range of about 26 to about 24. Here we are right smack mid-range. So mid-range trades are generally sloppy, but it could be an interesting zone of support as we have basically the 250-day moving average, your 50-day moving average coming up closely beneath it, as well as your 50-week moving average. So should we get a bounce here in dollar, it does call into question last week's considerable rally in gold. So gold, we had a strong gap up on Tuesday as well as Wednesday, although closing near low of day in each case, and then kind of hovering, hanging out above the 50-day moving average as well as back within its upward sloping price channel. So we'll see if this is a temporary blip on the screen, or is this truly, did this kind of mark the end of this sell-off that we did have against that backdrop of seasonality discussed in prior videos. The final interesting chart just to point out, copper did actually break out. So didn't find resistance at the upper end of this price channel, which essentially capped its wedge. So yeah, a bit of a breakout, difficult to chase, not generally advisable. But so any potential throwback rally to like the 9 EMA or this upper trend line would be an interesting pace. As again, from longer term perspective, copper has just been an incredibly beat down asset, along with many other commodities. So seeing this breakout here is technically pretty interesting, although not quite yet. But yeah. Congrats to anyone who took the trade off the lower trend line, right? As that's the correct move, clearly, right? So you have your upper trend line, downward trend line, pardon, and your move's off it. So now's the time just to examine that, and we'll see what happens in the longer term. But yep, looking forward to getting this election behind us and seeing what happens if market can pick a direction. And we'll stay tuned for some pretty exciting action next week. All right, thanks for listening. Take care.